You're listening to the Get Out and Drive podcast with John, Custom Car Nerd Meyer, and Jason, Old Car Guy Carr. We'll be bringing you gearheads everything you never wanted to know about cars and why they should be on the road and not in your garage. Are you ready to get out and drive?
Folks, welcome back to another great, fantabulistic episode of the Get Out and Drive podcast. My name is Jason, Old Car Guy Carr.
And as usual, I am in the passenger seat, John, Custom Car Nerd Meyer.
Folks, we've got some important news, some exciting news coming up for the Get Out and Drive podcast. John and I are going to be road tripping. We're going to be road tripping down the East Coast from Maine to Atlanta, Georgia for the C10's in the City truck show happening on the June 3rd weekend. So we're going to be leaving upstate Maine, Bangor, Maine is where I'll pick John up. And it's going to be a pretty epic journey. We're going to be planning on doing some recordings along the way. Just John and I cruising down the road. We're going to be taking Dale the truck, my 77 Chevrolet C10. John, I'm excited. I hope you are too. Roughly about 1,400 miles one way.
I think it'll be fun. We'll be stopping in and meeting some previous Get Out and Drive podcast alums along the way.
Yep. And some other YouTube content creators is what we're planning on doing as well. We're actually at the show on that Saturday. We're going to be meeting up with Grant, Straight Six fan, Grant Tommy. That's where John will be heading back to St. Louis, and I'll be picking up Grant Tommy, who is Straight Six fan on YouTube, my co-host for the Car Guy and Six Fan show. And Grant will be making the trip back up the coast with me, at least most of the way. We're going to try and make it as far as Washington, D.C., which means Dale the truck might get to see the White House somewhere along the way. But we do plan on doing a little bit of touristy things. We're going to do this trip over the course of a week for me, and it's going to be 3 or 4 days travel going down, sightseeing, meeting up with some folks, telling some great stories, and just plain old having a good time.
Mm-hmm. Jason, when I get back, I'm going to fly from where we leave each other back to St. Louis, and then I'm picking up a vehicle and I'm driving to Custom Car Revival in Indianapolis.
That's awesome.
So I will have quite the week and a half, 2 weeks.
You're putting on a lot of miles.
A lot of miles. I'll put a lot of miles under my belt. So it'll be cool. But we're going to Custom Car Revival, and we will interview a lot of legends in the custom car world at Custom Car Revival, along with the show promoter, Kevin Anderson. So a lot of vehicles will be there. One vehicle in particular will be there, and it is a surprise.
I think I know what it is.
I hope you do. But right now we're keeping it under wraps, and we'll do the reveal when we get to the venue.
And speaking of venue, C10's in the City is an event that's put on by SQR BDY, which is Rick Cheeseman, and the boys over at United by Trucks. So Robbie Purser and Rick Cheeseman are kind of heading this organization, this show. And we hope to meet up with some other really great C10 enthusiasts. We know Brian Harrison, a former guest on the Get Out and Drive podcast. I've known Brian for a couple of years myself, but I've never personally met him. So I think
he's a great guy.
He is a very nice fella. If we don't get to stop into his shop on the way down, he said he is going to be at the show. So one way or the other, we're going to get to meet up with him. He's also going to be another guest, hopefully very soon, on the Car Guy and Six Fan show, as well as here on the Get Out and Drive podcast. We'd love to be able to put that together because he's doing something pretty big with a very special square body truck, I believe. And I think there's a big reveal of the truck when everything's done. So we want to give him an opportunity to thank his sponsors. He's very appreciative of his time on the Get Out and Drive podcast. We want to give him that opportunity again. But if you guys are going to be in Atlanta for that show, or not even for that show, but you want to meet up with John and I, we'll have lots of stickers, Get Out and Drive stickers, to pass out to everybody. that comes up and sees us, we'll be happy to sign autographs, take pictures, whatever. But we're there to have a good time, catch some really, really nice trucks. And I think the experience of the road trip is going to be just phenomenal. I'm really looking forward to that. And I know John doesn't want to spend that much time with me cooped up in a truck, but he volunteered.
I did volunteer. And if anybody I would want to get out and drive with, it would be Jason Carr.
Well, I appreciate that, buddy.
That's what it said on my copy here. I was supposed to say that.
Is that what Joanne told you to say?
It's on my copy in front of me. I read whatever's on the teleprompter.
Yeah, including move left 3 paces. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yes, exactly. I read stage direction as well.
So, John, tell us a little bit about what what are some of the things we should be doing along the way as far as places to see, people to talk to, sightseeing.
I haven't
love cars.
I haven't nailed it down yet, but on our route down, are we going to go through or near Washington, D.C.?
No. So there's a couple. The reason why I'm planning my route, not route, the way that I want to, is because I want to go through the Harrisburg, Pennsylvania-ish area, because there's a couple of guys, there's at least one fellow that I want to stop and see on the way down. And on the way back, Grant and I are stopping at a few places in the Carolinas, Virginia, up that way, as well as Maryland. That's why we're kind of doing a loop, going down one way and coming back like the other. So,
yeah,
unfortunately, no, we won't be going to Washington, D.C. on the way down.
Wow. Well, I was hoping because Bruce Pascal, the owner of the rear-loading pink beach bomb of incredible Redline fame, I was hoping to hold that in my hand, but maybe I'll do that another time. He's another Get Out and Drive podcast alum, and he's a great person. So,
well, look, there's nothing written in stone. We can see what we'll have to get together someday and just kind of see if we can't hash out some sort of a dedicated route on the way down. Yeah,
I did talk to him the other day, and he said he would be able to have us stop in to his Hot Wheels museum and look at his displays and things. He has a full scale Hot Wheel that he purchased, and it is absolutely phenomenal. Very cool. I'll keep that quiet for a little bit, and maybe we'll get to stop and see it and take some pictures and sit in it and have fun.
And another past guest, Anthony Natoli, from Sunday. If you guys haven't listened to that episode yet, man, you got to go back and listen to that. That's such a great, inspiring story about a fella who decided one day that he was going to make a movie, a full-length feature film based on a dream he had. Anyways, retro style car racing movie. You want to go back and check that out. Anyways, Anthony wants to meet us at that racetrack, which I believe is just outside Carlisle, Pennsylvania, which was another reason to kind of take that route. But we may be able to fit it in there somehow and make that happen.
So many people we need to stop and talk to. It's getting ridiculous.
There is for sure. And of course, we're going to be driving a vehicle that is it's a 77. It's been pretty much everything's been gone over, but it's still an older vehicle. I'm going to be bringing lots of tools, lots of spare parts and stuff like that. Our time on the road will certainly be dictated by how well Dale the truck treats us on that trip. I don't anticipate anything. Sometimes it can be the simple stuff that holds you back for sure.
Do we have a working gas gauge?
And working gas gauge, and I do have a 5-gallon reserve of gas that we'll be carrying with us as well.
Nice, because you ran into that problem again with another vehicle you recently purchased, right? You sent me the video. You called yourself out.
I did, only because it very unexpectedly happens to me often that I run out of gas. So we bought this 50 Plymouth. Hadn't ran or drove in 23 years. We bought it, got it home, got it running and driving, and we were running on literally a 1-gallon gas jug. And the whole time that we were trying to get this thing running, we were running off the gas jug sitting on the fender. And that night that I decided to pull that video together, I said, I got to get this thing, at least drive it around the building. I got around the building 2 times. And on the second trip, it conked out, it sucked its last fume. So my son was recording that as it happened. So it just.
I have an extra pair of shoes. I'm going to bring an extra pair of shoes.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Yeah,
and I have a really big thumb, like the one they used on Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah. So chances are we may end up running out of gas at least once on that trip. Let's hope it happens on the way down, not the way home, because I want you to experience that with me.
I would love to experience running out of gas with you.
Yeah, and another thing that I'm hoping to be able to do as well is I'm going to be checking out some classifieds, especially racingjunk.com. I want to see if I can find some vehicles to go take a look at while I'm down there. What an opportunity to be down in the south, out of the Rust Belt, and finding some very potential projects that we can buy, bring back to Eastern Canada, and do our stop, start, and steer, get them cleaned up, and get them ready for another owner who will love them and make them into something of their own. So if you guys don't know, racingjunk.com is a free classified. You can look for whatever you want, you can sell whatever you want, and there is no fees. Make sure you check out racingjunk.com.
If anyone has any projects and things that they think would suit our needs, certainly let us know. And if you are on our route, that would be great. We can stop in and see your vehicle, see if it's something that we want to buy.
Absolutely. We're not picky with what we're looking for. We just want to make sure that it's saleable. If it's in decent condition, even if it doesn't run, as long as everything's there, we'd be okay with that. And we're just looking to have something that can has the potential to start, stop, and steer. That's a mantra that John has put in my brain to make me realize that when it comes to selling potential project cars, these are the 3 key items to selling it and making the difference between a few thousand and several $1,000s. If it's not going to stop, start, steer, you ain't going to get what you want out of it. It's one less thing that somebody has to do when they're finishing that vehicle.
It makes a project a little more enticing to the next person that's going to bring a vehicle to the next level. Because when you're looking at a project and it looks like it's been sitting out forever, you don't know condition of the block, you don't know condition of the rotating assembly, whether the thing's going to make it under its own power. And you can sell it to someone who may be a first vintage vehicle owner, like a virgin vintage vehicle owner. And having it there, and it may not be the best looking car. All the headlights and horn and turn signals and stuff might not work. The interior may need some work, but if a vehicle can start, stop, and steer and be able to be upgraded, it's more sellable to the next person.
That's right. And it's a great opportunity for somebody who is less mechanically inclined, but has interest in jumping into the car hobby industry and wants to start with something. If you get the hard stuff out of the way, the stop, the start, stop, and steer, that's one less thing they have to worry about, and they can concentrate on cosmetics and making the project their own. Right now, we currently have 3 potential projects today. I just consigned a 91 Cadillac Fleetwood. This thing is, I hate to throw the word mint out there because there was nothing that was ever mint from the factory, but we're talking about a very, very clean car. 64,000 miles. The leather looks like it's never been sat in. The carpets are just as clean as the day that they rolled off the showroom floor. And the epitome of the term drives like a Cadillac. This thing is smooth, smooth, smooth. We've got the 50 Plymouth, which we've got starting and mostly stopping. It already steered. So we're working away at that. And we've got the 62 International B150, what I would classify as a 1 ton. I'm sure it's more than a 1 ton. It's got the dual rear wheels. It's got the great big giant pumpkin in the back with the Ruxel splitter. This thing's got so much potential. It runs. It does not stop under its own power. And it doesn't even run under its own power. We got to bottle feed it. So those are 3 projects we've got right now that we're in the middle of, different stages of getting them ready for you guys. We're making videos on them, and we're showing you guys what we're doing, and hopefully get them up and out on the interwebs for you guys to love. We want you to ride along with the Get Out and Drive podcast.
Pitch in some gas money to help keep the Get Out and Drive podcast on the road.
Pitch in any amount you want. But if you fill our tank with a $10 subscription, we'll send you free stickers from the Get Out and Drive podcast, Old Car Guy, STL Pinstripes, and Racing Junk as a thank you.
Find links in the show notes and at getoutanddrive.com. Jason, I'm tired of watching the reruns of the Car Guy and Six Fans show on YouTube. When will we get to see new lives on there?
Well, starting Thursday, January 19th, 2023 at 7 p.m. Central Time, we're going to be going every third Thursday throughout the whole year, 12 episodes. Make sure you're there.
National Get Out and Drive Day is slated for October 1st, 2023. Have you signed up yet? Visit getoutanddrive.com for more details.
It's that time again. It's time for Trade Schooled. Through our What Drives Youth initiative and our partnership with the RPM Foundation, we strive to put an emphasis on the value of attending an automotive trade school and passing down information to the next generation of gearheads.
This week on Trade Schooled, Jason learned what bracket racing actually is.
So prior to our interview with Anthony Natoli with his movie Sunday, 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 I knew nothing about the term bracket racing. And it wasn't until I watched that movie that they explained exactly what it is in layman's terms, so a guy like me could figure it out. You don't need to have a fast car to go bracket racing. You just need to be consistent. So whether you're driving a 13-second car or a 6-second car, they're going to line you up so that you can race against each other, and one guy just leaves a little bit quicker than the other in hopes that the guy with the fast car can catch up in just enough time. Process of elimination, and you could win the day with the slowest car on the track.
Jason, that is exactly correct. I remember running bracket racing at the local track. I had nearly the slowest car there. I think my car ran 19.2.
Wow.
And I don't think they gave me a time slip. They gave me a calendar. They said you started on Saturday and you finished maybe on Sunday. And that makes it equal playing field for anybody. The races are won and lost in thousandths of a second. And most of the time, they're won and lost at the tree, not the finish line.
I think about my relationship with cars as continuing education. There's always something new to learn, something new to experience.
Be sure to check out the RPM Foundation for ways you can drive your passion for cars into a career. Visit rpm.foundation for more information. Like I always say, the best way to gain knowledge and information is to learn with your mouth shut. The Get Out and Drive podcast has partnered with RacingJunk.com to offer a Pro Club membership exclusively for our listeners for just $25 a year.
Just a few perks of the Pro Club membership include up to 50 free photos per ad, a dashboard to keep track of your listed items, and search alerts so you don't miss out on that must-have part.
Don't forget about the Racing Junk store discount, free video uploads for your ads, $65 in ad upgrade credits, and an official club member banner on your ads.
Just use promo code POD23 when you sign up on racingjunk.com. I want to talk a little bit, John, about the 74 GMC motorhome that I posted the other day.
That is a fantastic, fantastic vehicle. I have my own feelings about it. Again, it has to do with a movie and it's stupid, but go on ahead. I'll let you ramble.
Well, I've been rambling a lot in this episode, but I just wanted to talk about, that was kind of one of the key things about getting into this type of collector car, so to speak, sales in as part of an addition to my used car lot. is some of the neat, quirky things that you come across. And this 74 GMC motorhome is just that. Airbag rear suspension, independent suspension, front wheel drive, 455 Oldsmobile engine. Like, this thing sounds like it sounds like a hot rod when it's just sitting there idling. And it's just got the retro look. This one's silver. But can you imagine one in the two-tone green or the orange and brown? Right? Like, come on, man. The epitome of disco in a motorhome.
Oh man. So do you own that vehicle?
I do not. It's a good customer of ours.
Okay.
They moved here from Ontario. They drove it here 1,000 miles,
Mhm.
Ontario to New Brunswick, and they just want to downsize. They're getting older, and they want to go with a towable trailer. And so it's time for the old GMC to go. But yeah, it's quite a rig. Definitely dated, but so much potential for somebody to go in there, make it their own, whether they wanted to completely modernize it or just redo things back to its retro way.
Do you know the three very important movies that vehicle was in? It's terrible.
I think I might know one of them, but I don't know if I
Okay.
can't mention three.
Well, give it hell. See what you got.
So you put me on the spot.
No, that's okay. I mean,
Somebody,
if you know, that's great. Throw it out there. If you don't, I'll help you.
no, I don't. I know somebody had posted when I posted pictures up. Somebody had mentioned one of those movies.
Mhm.
The name escapes me.
One of them is a Stripes.
Yes.
It's the
Yeah.
urban assault vehicle.
Yeah.
Another one is the Spaceballs.
Yes. There you go.
Yep. And another one that is not exactly a movie, but it is a TV show, Community. They made that into what would be a space shuttle, and it is the Kentucky Fried Chicken sponsored space program where you get inside of it and you have to align all the 11 herbs and spices correctly to blast off and get into space. It doesn't actually do that, but you go inside and it makes you feel like it. It's like the little ride that would be at the Science Center. And that whole vehicle is fantastically terrible.
Fantastically terrible. Yeah.
Fantastically terrible. And the dark green thing that was in Stripes, urban assault vehicle, that is exactly what I would clone if I had that. I would wreck that thing and make it exactly like the one from Stripes. Probably because I can't make a spaceship out of it to be on Spaceballs.
Well, growing up, my older sister had the Barbie Dream Machine,
Oh yeah.
which was cloned off of this GMC motorhome. And look, I'm not ashamed to admit it, folks. I probably played with that Barbie Dream Machine a lot more than my sister did, just because it was a big size boy. When she wasn't looking, I had it out and I had it full of dinky cars and Hot Wheels and Matchbox and GI Joes and everything. Until the day that I got caught with it outside playing in the mud. But anyways, these things, yeah, they're just such a great retro looking. A fellow, if they wanted to, they could go in, they could modernize it with all the the Wi-Fi's and the tankless water heaters and solar and all that stuff. It's all up to you what you want to do. But I can't help but think that at the end of the day, I would take that thing and I would go full on orange, browns, yellows, with some shag carpet and some disco balls hanging in the ceiling there somewhere or something. Like, it's so 70s. It's like it's the epitome of a 70s vehicle, all encapsulated into one. A couple of neat things about it is that tandem air ride rear suspension. These things have no rear axles. They're front wheel drive. So all your pulling power is up front, and it gives you a flat load floor just to simply step up one step and you're flat the whole way through. So you've got no axles having to step over or get up in the way. Keeps it low center of gravity. And they are an airbag. There's two tires mounted on pivots, and the airbag in the center of them is what kind of allows the thing to raise and lower and give you that real soft air ride suspension.
It has a dummy rear axle, kind of like a caravan, like a front wheel drive minivan.
Kind of. Yep. Yeah. So it's pretty neat to be able to see some of the things that come through the that come through your lot. This one here is a project that, or not a project, but a deal that we've been working on since last fall. He came to me and said, "Listen, I don't know anything about the internet, and is it something that you can help me with, get this thing marketed?" I said, "Absolutely." So I found out what they wanted for a price, and they want 16,000 Canadian dollars, which works out to about 11,500 US dollars. And because I live right on the border, if you guys are listening to this and you think you might be interested, we'll leave a link to my website down below, and you guys can go check that out. If it's still available and you want to come take a look, reach out to me. I think it would be a pretty neat little rig, neat little project, and I can help you get it across the border if needed.
Yeah, you were talking briefly that it is fairly easy to get a vehicle from the United States to Canada, and vice versa. Is that correct?
Not so much vice versa. Coming into Canada, there's a little more red tape, but
Okay.
if they are 15 years old or older, it's certainly much simpler coming into Canada. But yeah, going to the US, especially if they are Canada, US, or Mexican made. So even if it's a Honda, which most of them are made in Canada, that aren't made in Japan. If it's a Toyota, which there's a lot of them made in the US now and some in Mexico, anything that's got a VIN plate starting with a number 1, 2, or 3, or in some cases, I think a 4 and a 5 for the US, they can come in to the US very, very easily. You just self-declare it at the bridge. And as long as you've got the proper documentations for EPA, as well as a copy of the current registration or title, you just fill out some paperwork. There's no duties or fees at the bridge. You just pay them when you get to your local jurisdiction. If it is a foreign vehicle from outside of North America, you will pay a duty depending on where it's coming from. So from Europe, it may be like a 2.5% duty, which you would pay at the bridge. If it's say from Japan, Korea, same thing. There may be a small percentage that you would pay to import that into the U.S. But just a bunch of paperwork dealing with U.S. customs agents. But like I said, it's a pretty simple process. I've done it going both ways. It's as long as you've got all your paperwork in order, you're good to go.
Because I'm always very surprised I don't see more 50s and 60s Pontiac GM and Mercury US Ford derivatives coming into the United States, because it's pretty neat if you can have a Mercury pickup in the United States. I mean, who wouldn't want a unibody 62 to 64 Mercury pickup? I mean, that's super cool. And it's something you don't see every day. You could have that at your local car show, or Burger Stand Cruise Night, and people would not know what that was. And a lot of people hadn't seen one before.
Well, a lot of people would think they knew what it was.
Correct.
Just based on the basic silhouette and certain characteristics. There's no difference really between a Mercury M1 or M1 than there was the Ford F1 or F100, other than badging. Virtually, that was it. And maybe there was something indicative in the VIN number there somewhere too. But other than that, you look at it and 56 Ford pickups, pretty distinctive. The windshield style, the door style. My dad had a 56 Mercury that he built several years ago, and people would always come up, "Oh, I love your Ford pickup," and then they find out it's a Mercury and they love it even more. And then they find out he had small block Chev running gear and they hated it a little bit less. So it's all about having something a little bit unique. And that's what Mercury did. Pontiac did the same thing with a few of their models. Dodge had the Fargo trucks for the exact same reason that Mercury trucks were built. So yeah, a little bit of difference. I'm not sure if you see that stuff going stateside or not. I don't see it coming through my neck of the woods. but a very small population here on the East Coast. But I'm sure that some of the bigger centers probably see a lot more of that stuff.
I haven't seen many Canadian derivatives of GM down here in the States.
Yeah.
I know I built a 65 Pontiac Parisienne convertible, and I found out how things were blended, and the chassis and the floors and the wiring and most of the interior was a 65 Impala.
Yep.
And it was morphed with Pontiac Grand Prix-ish skins. And no matter what you do, some things were Parisienne only to make things fit. Just like the difference between, the Nova derivative of, in Canada, the Pontiac.
Oh, the Acadian, yeah.
The Acadian.
Yeah.
And that's just fun. Everybody has, a 65 Chevelle. You could certainly have one that's a Pontiac, and people would think, oh, that's a neat Chevelle, but it's not. And it trims a little different, headlights, taillights trim, things like that, interior. Steering wheels, sometimes they share with older vehicles, things. It's just a little fun, and it would be neat if you want a 65 Chevelle. You could certainly have a Pontiac, and people would wonder why there's a orange engine in it. There's a GM engine in it, and that kind of ruffles feathers. That did a lot with that 65 Pontiac convertible that we built. We took it to Good Guys in Louisville. And we popped the hood, and everybody said, "What idiot put an orange engine in that car?" And they had no idea what they were looking at. So it was fun. It's a great conversation piece, and I think I wish people would do it a little more often.
Well, John, I know that you're kind of always my go-to when it comes to picking apart the uniqueness of certain vehicles, whether it be right down to just a simple hubcap or a fender trim or something like that. Last week, I picked up out of the woods an old fender to a vehicle that I had no clue on. I picked it up thinking it was a 55, 6 or 7 Chevy of some type, but it was the body line that went down the side of it that really threw me for a loop. And I posted it on Instagram and on Facebook, and a couple of guys were saying, well, that's a 53 Pontiac, but it's got the body line, so it's not a Pontiac. I don't know what. Anyways, this is a perfect example of where those lines will cross. We've got a fender that physically is a 53 Chevy fender, but because of the body trim that goes on it, you can clearly tell it's the Pontiac trim off of a 53 Pontiac, but in Canada only, because you would have got the same trim in the US, the bright work, but that body line going about 2 inches or 3 inches above where the trim was came as a Chevy Bel Air type fender, or whatever they called them back then. But anyways, John picked that out. So, we make fun of John for his useless knowledge, but boys, it comes in handy sometimes when you're just trying to pick something apart like that you don't know where it came from. That's just it. It's a Pontiac built out of a Chevy. So yeah, we put all the trim and the bright work that looks like a Pontiac, but we put Chevy fenders on it, because that's just what we had, and we wanted to be able to sell it as a Pontiac. So neat little thing that in Canada we did have a few different things that had different names that the US didn't get, and what makes them unique is the fact that Canada has such a small population to service versus the US, that you guys just didn't see some of this stuff. So it's pretty neat. You don't know what a 53 Canadian Pontiac looks like, go look it up and then Google the US version, and you'll see the difference of what we're talking about.
Jason, you always seem to throw me a loop every now and then and test my skills. I think I answered your question in about a minute and a half.
Yes.
I always tend to surprise you, and you throw me for a loop, or you send me a custom piece of a car or a piece of trim and a piece of this or a hubcap. And you're like, what is this? I'm like, ding, here you go. You always say, get him. I thought I got him, but no, I didn't.
No, and I don't ever think that I'm going to be able to stump John, because like I said, he's a wealth of useless knowledge, and sometimes it actually comes in clutch. I look at that and I can tell by the year, by the look of it, I can tell the year-ish of where it came from. I knew it was 50s, mid 50s ish. I had no clue that it was even a Pontiac, let alone a Canadian Pontiac. John knew that. I couldn't even, I got fat thumbs. I can't Google that quick. John had it right there. By the time I sent him the picture, he was like, yep, this is what it is. Click, 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 ding. Yeah, it's pretty neat. Pretty neat to know a lot of that stuff. And of course, he's been in that business, the vehicle restoration, automotive business for a long time. So he gets to see some of this unique stuff too.
I still haven't figured out what hubcap you have on the 50 Plymouth. I think it's a JC Whitney generic.
It could very well be.
There's absolutely a match to it.
There's absolutely no markings on it. There's no stampings, no etchings, nothing. And most of your hubcaps of the day had an identifying mark, whether it was an insignia, whether it was a crest, a design, a sailing ship like the Plymouths usually had on them. This has nothing. There's no design. It's just flat work. I would say it's probably from the 60s, thereabouts. It's closer to the era of that car than what was on it. Those what I guess to be, somebody said they were Cordoba hubcaps, those wire spokes, but I think they might have been Chrysler Fifth Avenue or something like that. But
right.
Regardless,
that hubcap that you have, it looks very much like a 55, 56 Ford full-size hubcap, but it has extra ribs on it.
Yeah.
And I don't identify it with one particular car. I think it's a custom hubcap or some sort of a generic. Have you seen the JC Whitney? And again, from the depths of the terribleness of my wealth of useless knowledge, have you seen the JC Whitney hubcaps from the 50s and 60s? Even in the 70s? No. Instead of having a Ford logo on it, it says FOOL.
Cool.
Yeah, it does. And they have Buick hubcaps that say BUUCK.
Wow.
And there's a lot of hubcaps that, to get around the copyright laws, they would change Cadillac crest, and instead of having ducks in a certain spot, they'd have diamonds in a certain spot in a Cadillac crest, or they would have things that were upside down. There's VW logos that is WW. It is amazing. There was a thread on the Ham, the hokey ass message board, back when I was on the Ham quite a bit, and people used to post all the time wacky hubcaps that were about 80% right, and you could buy a whole set for $8.95 plus shipping from JC Whitney. And you would, it's like ordering a set of Maverick hubcaps on Wish. You would get just a kind of close, you could stand on one foot, maybe close one eye. It doesn't look right at all. That's exactly what JC Whitney sold.
Well, and I think JC Whitney's motto was, if it looks good from 100 feet, you're probably all right. So
good from far, but far from good.
Far from good, yeah. You guys aren't going to be able to see this because we're not recording the video on this, but I've got a beer koozie in my hand, which is basically meant to be able to take to the beach. So it's just a rubber koozie, and it says Mountain Pew on it, and it's green. It slips right over the can to the layman police officer patrolling the beach on a Saturday afternoon would see that you were drinking a Mountain Dew and not a Bud Light or whatever you want to be drinking that day. So it's out there. They're still doing the masking of copyright infringement on everything. So there's ways around it, guys. If you really want to, you could slip your drink into a Tim Hortons cup. Anyway,
right. It's like instead of having a North Face jacket, you have a South Butt jacket.
Oh goodness, I knew something was coming.
Right. Well, that's actually a big deal. That a person tried to market South Butt clothing, and North Face decided to sue them and cease and desist, and they made them stop. But I thought that was fantastic. It was genius.
Why not?
Yeah. Jason, you like cruising around the internet, just searching for projects that you don't need. You do that?
I do. It's probably my second job.
It is your second job. I know I get smacked all the time because I've got plenty of projects, and I secretly still look for things other than the things that are in my driveway. What's wrong with us?
I don't know. It's definitely a sickness, but one of my favorite places to visit is racingjunk.com.
I go there a lot. I probably shouldn't, but I go there a lot. It's like a little secret hideout. I get really good deals there. Yeah, I'm sorry I'm saying this on the podcast. I'm going to let out the secret, but I'm getting much better deals there than I am on a lot of other websites.
Yeah, and not only can you buy and get good deals, but you can also sell your own junk and put money right in your pocket.
Yeah, that's right. They don't charge any transaction fees. Just 100% of what I make through my ad, I keep.
Absolutely. So if your wife is at you to clean out your garage for spring, you can post all your junk on racingjunk.com.
Wow. Well, I'm gonna stop talking now. I'm gonna head out to the garage, and I'll probably be back in a little bit. But I'm gonna head out and clean up some stuff. I know I've got a ton of stuff to sell.
Start making money today.
Get out in racingjunk.com. Sell your stuff. Get money. Stick it in your pocket. You know, Jason, we sure get to talk a lot.
Yes, and some of us more than others.
Who, me?
I'm not pointing any fingers.
Yes, you are. But we want to hear from our listeners. Just go to our website, getoutandrive.com, scroll to the bottom of the page, and click the listener hotline button. We want to hear from you. Cool stories, breakdown stories,
Questions, comments,
hate mail,
even hate mail?
even hate mail. You got a car show in your area? Let us know.
Tell us an interesting story.
Let us know what you like to get out and drive.
Cruise on over to our website, getoutandrive.com, for all the info you never wanted to know about our podcast. Hit us up on our listener hotline, be the first to know what's happening, get industry news, and grab your Get Out and Drive merch. Connect with us on social media. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Follow us on Twitter at Get Out and Drive Pod.
What drives you?